Little, Brown and Company is an American publisher founded in 1837 by Charles Coffin Little and his partner, James Brown, and for close to 2 centuries has published fiction and non-fiction by many of America's finest writers. Early lists featured Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Emily Dickinson's poetry, and Bartlett's familiar quotations. As of 2016, Little, Brown and Company is a division of the Hachette Book Group. 19th century, Little, Brown and Company had its roots in the book-selling trade. It was founded in 1837 in Boston by Charles Little and James Brown. They formed the partnership for the purpose of publishing, importing, and selling books. Quote, "It can trace its roots before that to 1784 to a bookshop owned by Ebenezer Battelle on Marlborough Street. They published works of Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, and they were specialized in legal publishing and importing titles. For many years, it was the most extensive law publisher in the United States, and also the largest importer of standard English law and miscellaneous works, introducing American buyers to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the dictionaries of William Smith, and many other standard works. In the early years, Little and Brown published the works of Daniel Webster, George Bancroft's History of the United States, William H. Prescott's Ferdinand and Isabella Jones Verree's first book of poetry, letters of John Adams, and works by James Russell Lowell and Francis Parkman. Little, Brown and Company was the American publisher for Edward Gibbon's The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. The firm was the original publisher of United States statutes at large beginning in 1845, under authority granted by a joint resolution of Congress. In 1874, Congress transferred the authority to publish the statutes at large to the government printing office, which has been responsible for producing the set since that time. 1 U.S.C. Section 113 still recognizes the edition of the laws and treaties of the United States, a competent evidence of the several public and private acts of Congress, treaties, and international agreements other than treaties of the United States. In 1853, Little, Brown began publishing the works of British poets from Chaucer to Wordsworth. 96 volumes were published in the series in 5 years. In 1859, John Bartlett became a partner in the firm. He held the rights to his familiar quotations, and Little, Brown published the 15th edition of the work in 1980, 125 years after its first publication. John Murray Brown, James Brown's son, took over when Augustus Flagg retired in 1884. In the 1890s, Little, Brown expanded into general publishing, including fiction. In 1896, it published Quo Vadis. In 1898, Little, Brown purchased a list of titles from the Roberts Brothers firm. 19th-century employees included Charles Carroll Sowell. 20th century, John Murray Brown died in 1908 and James W. McIntyre became managing partner. When McIntyre died in 1913, Little, Brown Incorporated. In 1925, Little, Brown entered into an agreement to publish all Atlantic monthly books. This arrangement lasted until 1985. During this time, the joint Atlantic Monthly Press, Little, Brown imprint, published All Quiet on the Western Front, Hodge's The Adventures of Tintin, James Truslow Adams' The Addams Family, Charles Nordhoff and James Norman Hall's Mutiny on the Bounty and its sequels, James Hilton's Goodbye, Mr. Chips, Walter D. Edmonds' Drums Along the Mohawk, William Least Heat Moon's Blue Highways, Tracy Kidd as The Soul of a New Machine, and J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. Salinger later terminated his contract with the publishing house sometime in the 1970s, though his novel was still published by Little, Brown. Other prominent figures published by Little, Brown in the 20th and early 21st centuries have included Nagaru Tanagawa, Donald Barthelme, Louisa M. Alcott, Catherine Drinker Bowen, Bernie Brillstein, Thornton Burgess, Hortense Kaelesha, Bruce Catton, A.J. Cronin, Peter de Vries, J. Frank Dobie, C.S. Forrester, John Fowles, Malcolm Gladwell, Pete Hamill, Cynthia Harrod Eagles, Lillian Hellman, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Sr., Henry Kissinger, Elizabeth Kostova, Norman Mailer, William Manchester, Nelson Mandela, John P. Marquand, Masters and Johnson, Stephanie Meyer, Rick Moody, Ogden Nash, Edwin O'Connor, Eric Maria Remarque, Hannah Sebald, David Sedaris, George Stephanopoulos, Gwyn Thomas Vidal, David Foster Wallace, Evelyn Waugh, P.G. Wodehouse, James Patterson, and Herman Wouk. Little, Brown also published The Photography of Ansel Adams. In 1996, Little, Brown's legal and medical publishing division was purchased by Wolters Kluwer. In 2001, Michael Peach became publisher of Little, Brown. The imprint was purchased by Time Inc. in 1968, and was made part of the Time Warner Book Group when Time merged with Warner Communications to form Time Warner in 1989. Little, Brown expanded into the UK in 1992 when TWBG bought MacDonald and Amp Co. from Maxwell Communications, taking on its Abacus and Orbit lists, and authors including Ian Banks. Feminist publisher Virago Press followed in 1996. Also in 1996, Wolters Kluwer acquired Little, Brown's professional division and incorporated it into its Aspen and Lippincott Raven imprints. 21st Century. In 2006, the Time Warner Book Group was sold to French publisher Hachette Livre. Following this, the Little, Brown imprint is used by Hachette Livre's U.S. publishing company, Hachette Book Group USA. In 2011, Little, Brown launched an imprint devoted to suspense publishing, Mulholland Books. The company received the Publisher of the Year award 3 times. On April 1, 2013, Reagan Arthur became publisher of Little, Brown.